Hey, welcome to this video. I appreciate you being with me. Doug Barry here. Live video here. We're going to be addressing three key things that we really need to stop doing. Please, we need to stop doing if we want to be ready for civil unrest. And why do I say civil unrest? Now we're going to break that down in just a moment here. Before we get started, though, I want to encourage you to go out and sign up for a 90-minute masterclass that we're putting on coming up very soon. This masterclass, how to get ready for November. All right. Now, why do I say that? Look, the election's coming up. We see things happening in the world, and we will get into more detail on that in just a moment. But look at what's happening right now in our country. Look at the fact that we've got this political just circus, if you want to call it that. We've got over here on the left, they're not even giving a press conference to talk about the policies of what Harris says she's going to do. Over on the right, they've tried to assassinate President Trump, and there's all kinds of what appears to be pretty obvious corruption, okay, tied up with that assassination regarding Secret Service, FBI, and so forth. It's a mess. It is a mess, and we're in the thick of it, like we've really never been in some respects in this country right now in America. We also have to realize America's interaction with the rest of the world. See what's happening with Russia and Ukraine. That's ramping up. The most intense missile barrage attack against Ukraine came within the last 48 hours from Russia. We've got Ukraine now with weapons being supplied from the West, the US, Britain, Germany, and so forth, is now able to reach into Russian territory better. We've got this war escalating in the Middle East. When it comes to Israel and Hezbollah, Iran still threatening. Within the last 48 hours of this video or so, we have seen the preemptive strike that came from Israel against Hezbollah, Lebanon. All of this is happening right now. And we've still got a few more months before we get to the election. So yes, please go out and sign up. You see this on the bottom of the screen, brcoalition.com/November. Let's get ready for November. All right, we've got to be looking at what's upon us and what steps we should and could be doing. There are mistakes that people make. I don't want you to make certain mistakes. Now, obviously, there's certain things we can do, and then we got to trust the rest to God. But this masterclass, getting ready for November, is going to be a tremendous help. So go out, sign up for it, and let's get the ball rolling. All right, now in this video, this live event, I want to talk a little bit about the civil unrest. I want to go back here. I got pulled up on my other screen here. What we saw happening back in the time of the George Floyd riots. If you remember back in 2020, now this is a report just from Minneapolis alone. I just did a quick search. How many cities were on fire during the George Floyd riots? Okay. Now I had heard it was reported over 140 to 150 different cities in America were hit with what appeared to be very organized protests. Remember the mostly peaceful protests? This is something that we saw on TV every single day practically. And I've talked to people, a gentleman, in fact, whose son was on the Chicago police force. His son alone was involved in over 40 riots in Chicago during the time that he was there. Now, that being said, how many cities actually were affected by some sort of vandalism? I don't even know if that's been counted, but we know at least 140 or 150, according to reports, were on fire in one way, shape, or form. Get this report, though. The FBI and the ATF tracked 164 structure fires from arson that occurred between May 27th and May 30th in 2020. So during the George Floyd riots, this was in Minneapolis, St. Paul alone. Just in Minneapolis, St. Paul alone. And those of you who might live up in that area or know anybody from that area, I know many people from that area, most of that structure damage has not been repaired. Most of it is still a mess. All right. Thank you, Governor of Minnesota. So you got the FBI and the ATF tracking 164 structure fires that occurred within 4 days, from the 27th to the 30th of May in 2020. That was just in Minneapolis alone. That doesn't even count all the other locations across the country where civil unrest just exploded. Statues were torn down, vandalism occurred, shops were looted, broken windows, bricks flying around, cops were hit in the head, police officers were hit in the head with everything from bricks to frozen bottles of water. All these sorts of things we heard constant accounts of, to the point where some people just shut the news off. They got tired of hearing it. Civil unrest. And there are still people today who think, oh, that could never happen or won't happen in my small little town, in my little community here. I want to point to what happened in Israel a year ago, coming up pretty soon in October here. October 7th, what happened October 7th when Hamas went into Israel and attacked 20 kibbutzes and the dance festival? Over 280, 300 or so people were there. 280 or so died. I forget how many hundreds were there, forgive me, but at least 280 died. 1,500 estimated died. Many of the women were brutally treated, raped, murdered. This sort of thing happened on an average, everyday sort of morning, and it just was unleashed. Now, in our country right now, we've got another video coming up in the near future that's going to address more of this in detail. The concern of the threat against our country here in America with regards to some sort of attack that might be much like the October 7th Israel attack is very, very serious. There are a lot of red flags on that one. That's coming in a video very soon here. But what I want to say this right now is we've got to be looking at the three key things, the mistakes that we're making, right, that are keeping us from being better prepared for this type of civil unrest that could easily happen in our country again. So I wanted to point to the George Floyd riots, what's happened even overseas, how fast these things can occur, and why it's important for us to take seriously. So let's get to the first one. The first thing that a lot of people are doing when it comes to, I would say, a mistake is we make excuses. Number one, we have to stop making excuses for why we can't prepare. And I hear this all the time. I've been in this line of work, if you want to call it that, for a long time. Spiritually, through evangelization, been doing this for over 34, 35 years or so now. And in the natural realm as well, I've been addressing these things. And I constantly hear people make excuses. Well, I can't because, well, I can't exercise and get in better shape in case I have to move fast because I'm overweight, I can't afford good food, I have a knee problem, I have arthritis, I have, you name it, excuses. And I just, with all due respect to everybody out there, excuses are going to be our demise. We can't continue to live in this excuse mindset. It is destroying our effort to become more disciplined, to take the proper steps, and to move forward. So number one, let's stop making excuses and let's start really, put pen to paper if you have to, and start making a list of your excuses and start checking them off. Nope, not falling into that. Nope, not giving into that anymore. No, here's a big one why people won't even exercise. Why do I bring up exercise? Because the healthier and stronger you are with better eating. When I say diet, by the way, I'm not talking about just cutting back on calories. I'm talking about the types of foods that we eat. Okay, the diet, the types of foods that we're taking in and drinking, the fluids that we're drinking and so forth. When we adjust our diet, we get healthier. All right. And when I talk about the importance of being able to be mobile, the healthier we are, physically strong, flexible, and we've been eating better, the more mobile we are, mobility can equal survivability. Without a doubt, the better we can move, the better chance we have of surviving in multiple different crises, whether it's a fire in your house, a tornado you got to run to get to the basement or a cellar, or a crisis where someone's broken into your home and you've got to fight, or you just got to move to another location quickly. So getting healthier. So people will make excuses why they can't get healthy, why they can't take the time to change their diet, eat better, or get active and so forth. We've got to get out of that excuse mentality. Okay. Number two is another big one here. And this is something that I know it's easy for people to fall into, but when it comes to analysis paralysis, this is something we can all fall into. I've done it. If I want to, for example, here's an example. I got it sitting right here. This is called a NoCo Power Boost Plus. This is it's a battery jumpstart charger is what it is. Now you can do other things with it. You can charge other instruments off it. It's got a nice light on it. I've used this to jumpstart batteries, everything from my lawnmower to my car. All right. This is a very powerful thing. There are dozens of different brands on the market. You can go through your day just researching, analyzing, checking review videos. I do this for all the equipment that I buy. All right. Whether it's a water filter, a good water filter, I like the Lifesaver brand, whether it's a good survival knife, whether it's even things like pepper spray. You can review, research, analyze forever and be paralyzed into not knowing what to do, what button to push, what lever to pull, what door to open. We want to help you with that, by the way. And again, that's what this masterclass we're offering, this 90-minute masterclass, getting ready for November, is all about, is how do we avoid certain mistakes that can be fatal, all right? There are mistakes we can make that can lead to very serious problems. And so we want to help you avoid that. So again, go out brcoalition.com, see it on the bottom of the screen. Link is in the description below, and sign up for that masterclass getting ready for November. Back to analysis paralysis. We've all done this. I know what it's like even traveling down the highway, and you stop at a rest stop somewhere, you stop at a gas station, you stop at a convenience store, and you go in, you want something to drink. And sometimes you can just sit there and look at the refrigerator case because there's so much there. You just analyze every drink and you don't even know what to pick. Okay, that's a small example, but it's an example. But when it comes to the serious items, like, again, water filter or a good backup battery station, or what do I do, when it comes to having freeze-dried food, dehydrated food, canned food? How do I prepare it? How do I store it? We analyze to the point where we just won't even act on it. We've got to get past the analysis paralysis. No more of that. Number 3, third big mistake that a lot of people are making. And I say this with charity, all of this with charity. We've got to stop the victim mindset. We have this victim mindset. I have heard this probably as much as I've heard I have an excuse here, and a reason here, and a reason there. And it's different for you because you this and that. Look, I've dealt with all types of even physical ailments, injuries, you name it. And I still exercise several days a week, try to change my diet, try to make sure I review good products, get prepared, pray my rosary every day. People have the victim mindset why they can't even pray sometimes, let alone exercise, let alone prepare in other ways. I'm a victim. I can't. If only this person, if only that situation would change, if only I had this, if only that, but I can't. So, and this is what I hear a lot, I guess I'm just going to have to let them have at me and take my life, and I'll just have to give up. And I hear this regularly. And I just want to remind anybody out there, if you've got anybody that God has entrusted to your care, you don't want to have that attitude. True story. I was in a living room talking to a husband and wife one time many years ago about some of these topics. The man says to me, Doug, I don't know what I would do to fight if someone broke in the house. I don't know how to do it. I'm not trained to fight. I'm not in great shape. You know what? I think I'm ready to go. I'm ready to stand before God. Some of you might be thinking that right now. I'm ready to stand before God and just go to heaven. Just take me home. His wife is sitting right next to him, looking at me, kind of looking at him out of the corner of her eye, like, what are you talking about? So I let a few minutes go by. I wanted to be very charitable about it. So I said to him a few minutes later, I said, when you were talking a little bit ago about being ready to go, and I understand that, you state of grace, pretty sure you're in a state of grace, hopefully, and hopefully we all are. And then something happens. Someone breaks in your house. You've got a teenage boy, 17 or so, living in the house at the time, and your wife. So someone comes in and they want to take you out. And trust me, in a civil unrest situation, when things get really nasty, they'll go after the man normally first if they want to get to the children and the wife. You ladies have to realize that. You need to realize that there's nothing against a woman. Women can fight, protect, defend. Absolutely. But men are built differently for that. And bad guys normally know, get the guy out of the way, because when the men are removed, we have better access to other things and other people that we want. So I said to him, once you're gone, what happens to your wife and child? And he looked at me kind of funny, and she looked at him, and he looked at her, looked back at me, and he said, I never thought of that. We need to be thinking about this victim mindset that we can't do it because of this, that, and the other thing. We tie the excuses in with the victim mindset. And bottom line is, we don't act. Look, let me wrap it up by saying this. Again, I want to encourage you to sign up for that masterclass. You see it in the bottom of the screen. You see it in the information down below, going out to brcoalition.com/November. Prepare for November. It's going to be a powerful way to help teach and train steps that we can take, mistakes that we don't want to make, that can be fatal, that can be devastating when we don't take certain things into consideration. Could be even knowing how to read a map if your GPS goes down, so you don't end up in the wrong part of town or stranded somewhere in a bad situation, making sure that you've always got gas in your gas tank, and so forth and so forth. Many things that we're going to address, mistakes that can lead to serious problems, we want to help you avoid in that masterclass. But let me wrap this video up again with this. There's a great quote that a good friend of mine who spent over 30 years in the military as an EOD bomb tech. He worked on SEAL teams. The guy was just all over the world. And he said, look, you train and you train and you prepare, because you don't know what's going to happen the next day. You know what's going to happen that day. He said this to me. You may have heard this quote. It's a great quote. The wrong time to dig a well is when you're thirsty. Simple, right? The wrong time to prepare for civil unrest is when it's begun. In other words, the time is now. We still have some time, but we're seeing rumblings all around us. There's some people in the world who cannot avoid the craziness that's going on around them with war and all sorts of other Venezuelan type socialism. So what we want to be doing is preparing while we have the time. Best time to plant a tree, 10 years ago. Next best time to plant a tree, today. So go on out again to brcoalition.com/November. Again, link is in the description below. You see it on the bottom of the screen there. Sign up for that masterclass. We're going to address, again, very important topics. How do we not make certain mistakes? How do we not fall into those problems that could very easily become very seriously damaging, destructive, or even fatal? We want to help you with that. And don't forget these 3 things right here today. And ask yourself today, put pen to paper if you have to and write them down. Am I making excuses? Am I caught up in just looking too much but afraid to act on things? Or am I just playing the victim? Those 3 things are really destructive. We don't want to fall into those things. All right? Let's help each other. Let's raise the bar. Let's lift each other up in prayer. Let's make sure we're encouraging each other to take those right steps so that we can be better prepared. Because again, it's not just about us. It's about those that God has entrusted to our care. And when our country is fractured and broken in many ways like it is, and those of you who might be watching this from outside the country, you see it in your countries, your governments as well. It's incumbent upon us. It's imperative. It is essential that we look at least those that God has given to us, our community, our family, friends, and we work together. All right. God bless and strengthen you. I really hope to see you in that masterclass preparing for November. Go on out to the website again, check it out, click the link in the description, share this video with others. Let's get the word out to as many people as possible. All right, because the times are crazy and they're getting crazier, but God's grace will be sufficient, but we need to cooperate with that grace. All right, we'll talk to you again soon. Take care.